Good evening. Welcome to From the 80s View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Today's guest is my little brother from a different mother, Mr. Nate Coombs. Welcome to the show, Nate.
Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. And we're having you back on the show because there's some new stuff that we got to talk about just from a year ago. But a couple topics that we're going to talk about. Compliance. Nate, you're a compliance guy. What about it?
Just with the new college landscape and things changing every day, it's a whole lot of learning each and every day.
Every day. The transfer portal is crazy, Nate. What about it?
Just a lot of athletes trying to get different opportunities elsewhere, and whether it's for good reasons, bad reasons, but it's a whole lot of people trying to find new homes.
Absolutely. And then the last topic we're going to talk about is the new NIL legislation, and then we had some. We'll talk about some big news with the NCAA and Charlie Baker, president. What about this new NIL legislation?
I think it'll be a great way to see if we can kind of stabilize how college athletics is viewed and seen and run. But with that, there will definitely be some up and down challenges to get to this place that we want to be.
Absolutely. These topics and more on From the 80s View. Let's get it. Welcome back to the show. And before we get started, I'd like to thank God, who's the head of my life, because without him, none of the things that I do would be possible. Big things going on in my professional career right now. Big things going on in my personal life. And, without the Lord in my life, none of those things would be possible. But let's bring back my little brother, Nate Coombs. Let's bring him back. Nate, you have some. The last time that our viewers got a chance to meet you, you were a GA at Southern Utah University. And let me just talk about your resume just a little bit. Nate is a former GA for compliance at Southern Utah University. He is also formerly the GA for compliance at Southern Methodist University. And now, come Tuesday, Nate is going to be the Assistant Director of Fan Relations and Sales at Oklahoma State University. Go Pokes.
Yes, hey, sir, Nate. Go Pokes.
Hey, tell us a little bit about the journey, bro. I mean, you and Miss Valerie have uprooted yourselves from your home in Utah, right? And then you went down to Dallas and you finished a master's degree. Congratulations to you, sir, for finishing that master's degree. And worked at SMU, great university, right? Good athletics, working for a great AD down there. But now you're going to Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's been honestly it's a crazy journey, especially like how you mentioned with us uprooting and leaving Utah and taking a chance and taking a big risk moving to Dallas, and the work-life balance between all-night classes every day of the week at SMU and then working full-time as well. It's definitely been a challenge, but it's something that I am honestly really grateful for because I feel like it's been able to help set me up for the success coming in with who's starting at Oklahoma State next week. And I'm just grateful that too. My wife was able to take that risk with me moving here to Dallas. Absolutely. I know it's not been the easiest for her per se, but she's definitely been a trooper being here. And now she's going to get her master's as well at Oklahoma State. So once again, we'll be tag teaming at Oklahoma State, and it'll be all good.
Absolutely. And you have the best wife. When I met Val, I just knew that you're going to be a power couple in some form or fashion, right? Her in dance and the things that she does, remarkably there, and the teaching that she's going to be able to do, and you guys will probably own a dance studio one day, and you rising up in collegiate athletics. And, it was funny because we just talking back in the green room. You were so concerned, Doc Brown, man, I'm going out here, but I got to 1 year and then I got to find. I said, bro, you're going to find a job because you're so good at what you do, right? You're so good at relationships, and your energy is so positive, and you carry your faith with you wherever you go. So I said, man, I'm not worried about you, man. You're going to be great. You're going to do good things. And then I get a group chat, a group text, and Nate's going to Oklahoma State University, and I was almost jumped out of my chair when I heard it. And then I sent you that text. But hey, let's talk a little bit about what you actually did for us and what you did for SMU. Nate, you are in compliance, right? You were in compliance in both of those areas, and you're going to move on to something different. But you're in compliance. So what about compliance, the landscape of compliance, right? We had to deal with APRs and the federal graduation rate, right? And the graduation success rate at the university that you're at. What's going on in your mind with compliance and that landscape right now?
I feel like just to start, when people think of the words compliance, all you think is like rules and regulations. But when you really look at it, compliance is a whole lot of other topics and areas that they cover as well, whether that's housing, whether it's financial aid, whether it's initial eligibility, academic and amateurism wise. It's a whole lot of just making sure that a student athlete not only is ready to come into the university and be successful, but also that when they leave the university, they're in a good place, that they'll be able to succeed outside of college sports if that's the path that they take. Or if they are a professional athlete, we still give them the opportunity to come back and finish their degree. And
Sure.
I just think it's, especially in the last few years, compliance has definitely been a lot of changing, a lot of new legislation coming out. So making sure just our coaches and all the student athletes are up to date with rules education. It's
Yep.
been great here at SMU. We do rules education once a month with each of the sports teams. So our
Hmm.
opportunity to help out with men's golf and help educate the coaches and some of the student athletes as well, and then be able to sit in on a lot of the other teams when some of our other directors and assistant director was able to give those meetings as well. And
Sure.
it just helps keep everybody all in the loop of what's going on and everybody trying to figure out how to manage all the new changes happening.
So did you have an opportunity to do some sport administration at SMU?
With this, not in particular, it was just a lot of
Okay.
assisting the other directors, and then with, like I said, with men's golf, they gave us they gave us more opportunity with them just because their coaching staff's great, the student athletes are great, and so it was really easy to not have too much of a higher factor sport to be able to
Okay.
manage with and stuff. So
So, going from FCS, and then you're going to FBS, and I know that the resources are different and things like that, and we have a great staff. You know that. You know
absolutely,
everybody that on our compliance and our academic staff, right? And we don't talk about what we don't have. We talk about what we do, right? So we're wonderful. We get things done. What was it like though, going to an institution that had more resources for the student athletes and the staff to help them to attain their goals?
I feel like just having the more resources helps people, one, not get burnout when you only have one person handling financial aid, housing, just like interpreting bylaws. It can get really stressful really fast. So
Okay.
just definitely not a lot of burnout, but also just a lot more clarity of what's supposed to be going on. Because when you have people more specializing in one particular group and aspect, they gain a lot more knowledge and understanding, and then that way they can share it. So things are done not only correctly, but that in a way that people understand. And that's what I was able to kind of see at Southern Methodist, where we have 5 full-time staff members just in the compliance office, where they
Sure.
have certain sports to go over, and along with that, one will be over financial aid or another will be over onboarding. And so just
Yeah.
having that kind of factor, and then with multiple academic people as well, they can really focus on making sure the kids are staying eligible, getting their grades up, and also if they're transferring, what they're transferring in with, and what we need to do to kind of help with that.
That's awesome, and I know that you were excited once you realized that you had secured the opportunity to go to SMU and work with their compliance team, right? And we were so it was bittersweet for us, right? Because we were happy for you, right? But we were sad to see you leave, right? Because you did such a wonderful job for us in compliance and everything, and you did more than that, right? I had you doing some of everything, right? Trying to get you prepared for one day you being an athletics director, because you will be. I thoroughly believe that, Nate, that you will be. Nate, there's some things that came down in legislation not so long ago. Like right now, men's basketball can have unlimited official visits. How does that? How do you think that helps with the landscape of NIL, the portal, and things like that? How do you think that will help men's college basketball?
I feel like in basketball, especially basketball particularly, you only get 14 scholarships. And so you really got to hound in and make sure you get the right guys for your team that'll fit your program. And with the new transfer rules as well changing, where literally you can transfer anytime you want, how many times you want, it really helps now that you can have unlimited official visits, because now that people are changing and moving all the time, you need all those visits. You need the opportunity to gain as many people as you can to really get the structure and the team that you want for that coming year. Because I mean, you see it. Every team's basically brand new every year, no matter what school you're looking at.
Absolutely, and it's something that I talked to Rob Jeter about, having a 13-person roster, being able to bring walk-ons, to the program, preferred walk-ons. We have different state scholarship opportunities that can bring student athletes in. I agree with you. I think that is going to be a helpful entity for college basketball, because if you don't change something to help offset student athletes being able to just transfer each and every year, because one, whether they're not playing, two, whether they don't believe that they're getting NIL monies that they deserve, right? Some deserve, some, not so much, I guess, depending on their performance, but you have some that will perform well at a smaller level and then get an opportunity to go to a FBS level, and that's a great thing for them, right? So I believe what you're saying, Nate, is true, that it's going to be a great opportunity for student athletes and college basketball programs alike to have that new ability to have unlimited official visits. Now, speaking of the transfer portal, right? Now, walk-ons have to go into the transfer portal. Last year, they didn't have to go into the transfer portal. Do you think that does it make it a little bit more enticing for walk-ons to be in programs, because now they can play, if they played at all, right? They play well, or if they just want to go to a different opportunity because they want a different experience. Do you think that is a good thing, or do you think that it doesn't even matter that the walk-ons go into the portal?
So with that, especially how walk-ons and grad students, they have to follow the windows, go in the portal and everything. Especially with walk-ons, it's just really difficult with the FBS level, because with FBS, if the grand majority of the time, unfortunately, if you're looking in the portal, you see someone's a walk-on, and if they have a lot of playing time and everything, that's a whole different factor. If they actually get minutes, get snaps, that will help them and they'll be able to get a spot. But with a walk-on that maybe the first 2 years didn't really get a play at all, maybe played one game, 2 games, and then they go in the portal, I know the FBS level is just really hard to get picked up at that point, just
Yeah.
with so many different people coming in. And so with them coming in, just with my opinions and the things I've seen, I really don't think it'll make a huge difference. If anything, it'll make the transfer portal even more cluttered and get kind of blinded by a lot of these athletes that have been on aid, that have played.
Mhm.
And their names might just get messed up just because there's so many people in there and they'll get overshadowed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope that as we look at as our non-scholarship athletes or our walk-on athletes, that we look at them, we want them to be as successful as our scholarship athletes, right? We want them to have the best experience, both our men and women. We want them to have a great experience at whatever university they'll be at. But Nate, stay with me, man. We have a lot more to talk about, but I got to go pay up some bills, right? So. We'll be back right after this message. You're watching From the 80s View. We'll be right back.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What would we do without it?
Welcome back. You're watching From the 80s View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. And before we bring back our guest, I want to talk a little bit about my book. How Black Men Overcome Racial Barriers in the Status Quo in NCAA Institutions, a narrative inquiry. One, you can get the book at Amazon.com. Easy read. There are some researchable technical terms in the book, but when you look at it, there are three themes that came from the book. Right, benefits of role models and what they provide for you as you matriculate through or you ascend through your career, and it's and it was based on my experience, right, as a person of color, a man of color, rising and trying to ascend to my ultimate goal, which is to be a Power 5 AD one day, which it will happen. And then the second theme is role model expectations, right? So the role models that I spoke to in my book, many of them, the individuals that I interviewed are role models in my book. And there's a lot of things that they expect from you for you to ascend and attain that role that you want to have. and there's things that they want you to do, right? Homework, in a sense. And then the last theme was perceived racial barriers, whether they were actually perceived or they were real. How did you positively overcome those perceived or real barriers, right? And some of there are some perceived barriers, there are some real barriers, but the one thing that role models help me do, and in the book you'll see that it helped them do their role models. It helped them overcome those in a positive manner, right? Because there's a a silver lining in every cloud, and the glass is always half full. Those are the things that I talk about in my book. And like I said, you can get the book on Amazon.com. If you'd like to learn more about me and what I do, go to cedricandbrown.org. If you'd like to see past episodes, you can also go to cedricandbrown.org, or you can go on my YouTube channel. Dr. Cedric and Brown is my YouTube channel. Go there. But if you'd like to be a guest on the show, like Mr. Coombs, just go to cedricandbrown.org and email me there. And then I can absolutely get in contact with you, because I'd love to hear your view on many of the things that go on in sports, education, entertainment, and more, in family, right? From the 80s View can be seen on Sunday evenings at 6:40 Central, 7:40 Eastern Standard Time. And we can also be heard on the Leon Thomas Group Radio Network, right? And that's weekdays. And if you go to the leonthomasgroup.com email address or website, excuse me, you can find out where you can look at and hear From the 80s View. But let's bring back Mr. Coombs, Nate Coombs, to the show. Nate, before we get started on our last topic, man, we both shared in a little postseason celebration, right? The Southern Utah women's softball team made it to the postseason in the WAC for the first time under Coach Don Williams, who actually won her 700th game this season, right? And your SMU ladies are a game away from playing in the College World Series. Or excuse me, Oklahoma State is a game away from playing in the women's College World Series. What's that like, Nate? I mean, you go down there and, man, you're about to win championships.
Yeah, honestly, it's really exciting and awesome to look forward to, knowing that at least coming in that we do have programs that compete very competitively on the national level and not have the chance to win those kind of championships. And so honestly, it just brings me a lot of excitement and joy knowing that softball is doing really well. Football had an awesome year, looking to have another good year next. Baseball is doing great. They play for the Big 12 championship today against rival Oklahoma. Yep. And so it's honestly really exciting, and a lot to look forward to is starting coming in next week. And hopefully the Cowgirls can get it done today on their home field.
Yeah, and Nate, the thing is, I'm really happy for you, because at such a young age in the business, you are getting to experience the highest level of collegiate athletics, right? SMU, now Oklahoma State. I mean, you are as happy as a kid in a candy store right now, man. I mean, when I talk to you and just the joy in your voice and the smile on your face that I see when I talk to you is great. And I'm so proud of you, Nate. And I look forward to all the great things that you're going to do. But the last thing that we're going to talk about here, Nate, is the NIL legislation, right? And how things are transforming in that realm, right? So student athletes are now required to report any NIL contracts over $600, right? And so they're trying to put a little, some kind of guidance over this NIL, because it's going to get crazier and crazier, right? So as a compliance person, what do you think about them putting that stipulation on student athletes in their NIL that they have to report everything over $600?
So I think it'll just help just bring a lot of kind of, like you mentioned, uniformity to the whole system and try to bring back the reins a little bit on what the institution can kind of control. I know in the state of Texas, a few months before they made the kind of NCAA wide, but they did have a stipulation where you did have to report a certain amount of dollars. If it hit that limit, then you had to report it. But if not, then you didn't have to technically report it for the NIL deal. So now where it's NCAA broad and that the institutions now can provide support, provide help once they do disclose that deal over $600, I think it will help not only student athletes know and understand what other deals they can capitalize on, but it also will keep them safe and out of trouble with, I don't know, some of these other lawsuits that are happening of them now actually getting their money, and that people can be aware of actually what's going on, and it'll keep a lot of these companies and collectives accountable for what they're saying and what they're willing to give, even though sometimes
because they are pulling these student athletes, these men and women, they're pulling them, and then when they get there, like, oh, well, what had happened was, and they're trying to tell these student athletes that they don't actually have the money that they told them. So now you're going to get a student athlete that's going to transfer again, right? And as long as their progress towards degree is okay, I'm okay with them transferring, as long as when they transfer that they're still on track to graduate and they're still on track to matriculate towards their degree, whatever that major may be, that they're doing that. So I'm all for it, right? So you go, you play, you have the best experience you can right there. And if that experience is not serving you further, and there's an opportunity for you to go and continue your education and play your sport, I'm all for that. Nate, I'm gonna read something to you. A couple of days ago, it came out that the settlement between there were some class action lawsuits against the NCAA with regards to paying former student athletes, for their name, image, and likeness. And President Charlie Baker of the NCAA says this settlement replaces potentially crippling lawsuits and ends decades of antitrust litigation. I mean, and so here's some of the numbers, Nate. FBS now will be paying $95 million towards student athletes getting money. That's 33% of what will be paid. FCS, $37 million, about 13%. And then non-football conferences will be paying about 34%, which will $34 million, which will be about 2%. So the fact that the landscape is changing, Nate, because everybody's going, okay, I'm going to go sue the NCAA. And the NCAA is like, listen, if we take on all these lawsuits, right, and they win these damages, it will cripple the NCAA. So they're starting to settle all of these lawsuits. What do you think that's going on? I mean, how was your office there, compliance office, reacting to this news that happened this past week with NCAA?
So I think with that, and me and some of my coworkers, we've had a chance to discuss and talk it over, and we think that hopefully it'll just bring more stability and more kind of levelness of no more changes coming forward, and that now that the institutions will have a chance to kind of pass that revenue on to its student athletes and compensate them for what they do for the university. We hope that it'll just be able to be a good opportunity for not only student athletes to finally kind of get a part of the pie that they've been working hard for in their 4 years of eligibility. But we just know that it's not going to be easy at first. The first 2-3 years of all this money kind of trickling in, there'll be a lot of kinks. And so it's just got to take it day by day and really kind of look out for what else might come, just because we don't know exactly what else might be thrown into the wrench and things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're thinking here that at some point in time, NIL is going to move completely in-house, right? That it's going to be where the autonomy, I should say, because it's probably not Power 5 anymore, Power 4, but the autonomy conferences have moved to pay their athletes their past revenues and things like that. But they're looking at now, how do we divvy this pot up to pay these student athletes now? So I think that NIL will be a thing, but I think as it moves further or moves further down the road, that it's going to end up being institutions are going to be able to pay the student athlete for their name, image, and likeness, which I think it should happen. And I'm sure that Ed O'Bannon, who played for UCLA back in the '90s, is probably happy that he started all of this, right? He began all this. The O'Bannon brothers did about their name, image, and likeness, and things like that. But Nate, let me ask you one final question before I let you go, brother. What and this is going to be a big one for you. I know it is. What does faith and spiritualness mean to you?
So I know me and you, Dr. Brown, we've had many conversations about this back when I was still in Cedar City with you. But honestly, it means a lot. It means everything. It means basically everything I try to put my path on and live by. I know that with the faith that I have and understanding that our Savior Jesus Christ, He's done everything for us. We always can turn to Him for help, and not only that, but guidance. I know this last year I needed a lot of that guidance and knowing where to go and what to do. And honestly, it's kind of crazy how it all works. But just if it wasn't for one of these new faithful brothers that are in the church with me out here in Texas, I wouldn't be having the job that I have today, because he was the one that got me connected over with people at Oklahoma State. And so even just that alone is just signifying that as long as you're doing all you can to follow the teaching of Jesus Christ and just be kind to other people, and they'll be kind to you, and everybody can benefit from having that faith in Christ.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, as you did before you left here, when you went there, you found the ward that you wanted to be in. I'm sure that you'll do the same when you go to Stillwater and find a ward there for you and Miss Valerie to be in, so that you can get around young people and share faith and share thoughts and ideas and just have a great experience while you're down there. And I just look so forward to hearing the great things that are going to go on with you both. Nate, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, how can they do that? Can you share an email, personal email, or anything like that if they want to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my email address is Nate Coombs 10, just my name, no space, no caps, at gmail.com. Also on LinkedIn, if you want to send me a message, just Nate Coombs should just be on there for LinkedIn. So that's the easiest way to get in contact with me. And I usually check LinkedIn a few times a day, and then email, I'll respond right away. So if anybody wants to connect to everything, that's the easiest way to get in touch.
Absolutely. And I smile every time that I see you, little bro, because we just talk so much about your journey and what you're doing, and we talk a lot about faith, and we talk a lot about music and all kinds of things. So I know that the lives that you're going to touch when you go to Oklahoma State are going to be immense, right? You're going to have a big the success of Oklahoma State in what you're going to do is going to be great. And before we leave, Nate, talk a little bit about the new role. Briefly, talk about the new role that you're going to have when you go to Oklahoma State.
Yeah. So, I haven't started yet, so I don't know the exactness of all the things I do, but just the overview of the job is I will come in, I'll be housed in the ticket office. So I will manage the student workers that we have, and that's the hiring, the training, staffing for game days and helping out. I'll oversee that. And then I'll have a list of so many different season ticket accounts for different posse members. So that way, whether it's football, basketball, softball, soccer, any of those kind of sports, whatever they have in their account, we'll manage them, help them be able to get to the posse point level that they want. And so that way, when priority seating comes around, because we've had a lot of renovations at Oklahoma State, and the south side of this football stadium at Boone Pickens just barely is getting redone. So a lot of new seat changes have had to happen. And so it'll just be helping those members of the posse, which is like the donor club, them get to the point level that they want to be at, and just helping them and giving them the best experience they can with being an Oklahoma State fan.
Yeah, and you'll get an opportunity to be around that Pickens family and understand what that high level of donor responsibilities look like and things like that. You're going from the internal side to the external side, which I think is really good for you, Nate, because it's going to give you an opportunity to see the broad view of what all athletics is like, and you're going to need that, because one day you're going to be that AD, man. So great opportunity for you, Nate. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so happy for you. And once again, thank you for being on the show.
No, I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure being on here with you, Dr. Brown.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank Mr. Nate Coombs for being on the show today. Such a wonderful opportunity to see a young person in this business grow and ascend to the goals that they aspire to. And before I leave, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit, goals, right? If you have specific goals that you want to attain, do the work, put the work in, right? If you have an opportunity to become a graduate assistant, right? It's a grind. It's an absolute grind, because you have to do full classwork. Like you heard with Mr. Coombs, he had to do night classes, and then he had to work 40 hours a week or more during the day. So it's a grind. But if you get that opportunity, if you're a young person just coming out of college, or if you're a more mature person and you want to go back and get into the business, it's never too late, right? It's never too late, because it's never too late for you to be a learner. I went back and got my Ph.D. after almost 15 or 20 years out of school. So it's always a good thing to go back. And if you want to get into this business, being a graduate assistant and starting your career from there, nothing wrong with that, right? There's some honor and there's some great respect for individuals that do that, that become graduate assistants and then grow in the business, right? And set goals and attain those goals. But again, we want to thank Mr. Nate Coombs for being a part of the show to this evening. And thank you all for being a part of the From the AD's View family and watching these episodes. And I hope that the things that we share can help you and impact your life at some point in time. You're watching From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Good night and God bless.